1, 2,
Standing
go.
by. You know it.
Here we go.
Hey, everybody, you're listening to and possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz,
And I'm Steve Morey.
and your eyes aren't deceiving you. We're right next to each other. Yes, I made the trip down to Winston-Salem today, flew out of Newark, and Steve and I will be spending the weekend at, what is it actually the Charlotte Exposition? What's the name of the facility?
It's the Charlotte Convention Center.
Charlotte Convention Center.
Yeah.
For HeroesCon, which is a show we've gone to many times before. I've had a sort of spotted history with some of the past events, with some of us being sick and not being able to make the show, some of us getting sick at the show. So we're just really happy that we're here together, and I have to say I am looking exceptionally daddyish today. It's the lighting.
Sure.
And the hat. So,
Actually, it looks like he's ready for summer, to
I know.
be honest right now. He's like, summer.
It's summer.
We could do some Beach Boys music.
Summer
you
no,
know.
that's war. Oh, it's war.
Well, we could do some Beach Boys music and tribute to Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah, so we,
This is our first episode since Brian Wilson passed.
This is.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are unfamiliar with the many benefits of the Beach Boys catalog, this is the time to examine it, because we did lose, I think, for me, one of the few legitimate musical geniuses within rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sad. It's just really sad because I didn't get the Beach Boys until much later in my musical journey. I was maybe 21 when I got a copy of 20 when I got a copy of Pet Sounds. And for me, like, the Beach Boys were just an oldies act. For Sun Kiss commercials and stuff like that. And that kind of blew my mind. And for people who I think are more indie oriented, if you put Pet Sounds, the Beach Boys album Pet Sounds, in with the Velvet Underground and Nico and the first Stooges album, it actually is a very nice triptych in terms of musical daring. I don't know how else to put it off the cuff, but so rest in peace, Brian Wilson.
It's interesting because, like, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and for me, kind of like you, like, the Beach Boys were classics. They were just sort of, like, it was old people music. But when we were kids, especially in elementary school, anytime we had a summer concert, anytime we had music, anything, it was always Beach Boys. Always had so much Beach Boys music that was thrown in there. So I just kind of associate that with, being a kid. And, that kind of summer feeling. It was always very California, very summer. I didn't recognize sort of like how important it was to music and like,
And
the
how
development of
nuanced a
rock
lot
and
of
the
it is.
development of all that. But it's one of those things where I think almost anybody can recognize a Beach Boys song pretty easily. It's a very specific sound. But yeah, so one of the things we want to do today, to sort of just talk about what we wanted to see and do at HeroesCon, because HeroesCon, like I said, comes around once a year in June. It's usually the third weekend in June.
Third or fourth.
Yeah, third or fourth. It just depends.
Sometimes
Like,
it's been like the week later.
yeah. But it's it's a great time. It was one of the best comic conventions on this coast that I've been to. It's always popular with a lot of artists and writers as well.
Oh my God, that's summer.
It's a very the fun thing about it is that it's very much like it's a comic readers convention. So if you're going there for like voice actors from a bunch of different cartoons, or if you're going there to see like the actors from Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek, you're not going to be seeing them here at HeroesCon. HeroesCon is very much for
And in the past, when they have had people with personal appearances, it's been directly comic book related. It's been, cast members of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's been Linda Carter. It's been Lou Ferrigno. There seems to be a situation. About the only time I think they ever deviated from that. No, that was Baltimore that had Peter Mayhew.
Yeah, Peter Mayhew.
So that's one real plus about HeroesCon is it's a comic book convention.
Yeah. And of course,
really
usually the biggest celebrities they have there are the comic book artists or writers themselves. I mean, whenever they have Chris Claremont, they have Chris Claremont a lot. He comes every year. But John Romita Jr. is going to be there. In the past, they've had Stan Lee come, and that's usually was a madhouse because people had to get VIP tickets to go and see him, and they had him partitioned off.
Scotty Young is basically like the favorite son.
Oh, Scotty Young, absolutely. The line around everywhere, around every table, waiting for Scotty Young is insane.
And I'm not sure what the situation is now, but for many times we had Matt Fraction and Kelly Sue, because Matt Fraction used to live in the area.
Chip Zdarsky as well.
Worked at Heroes.
He worked at Heroes.
And his family is still in the area, so that's one nice thing too.
And they would usually, like the Milk Fed team was usually all in attendance for years. So you'd have Chip Zdarsky as well as the rest of the team. But Kelly Sue and Matt were very much a staple of there. And then also a lot of the young, at the time, up and coming Marvel artists and indie artists. So you have the Chris Anka and
it's a very robust artist.
Oh yeah,
very robust. From top names down to people just starting.
And one of the other features that I also really love is the Indie Island. So basically, it's sort of a section specifically set aside for independent artists, independent writers, people who have are self-published, but it's a very specific feel, and you can get to see a lot of people who, some of whom have published stuff at Image and at other places, but it's people who end up publishing at bigger publishers eventually down the road. You can see they're in Indie Island, and they're having their, I think, 20th anniversary as a feature of HeroesCon this year.
Just a few years ago was their 40th anniversary for Heroes.
Exactly, yeah.
So, that's a long time.
It's been going on for a long time, which is great. And I love that fact. And it was one of the things when I first moved to Charlotte back in 2006, 2005, 2006. Like, it was one of the first, fun things that I did in Charlotte in the summer. And that was even before I got back into reading comics. I was, again, reading mostly independent stuff, graphic novels, things like that, and getting to actually spend time in a section that was specifically set aside for people who weren't necessarily there to see all of the big Image and Marvel and DC writers and creators and artists. But it's one of those conventions where if you like comics in any form, you're gonna find your people. Like, they're there. There's
whether it's your golden age stuff, your silver age stuff, or people that are just getting started.
Oh yeah,
and, with the abrasive indie works.
Really shouting out from their table like $5. Come on, please buy my book. Someone better buy my book.
Pay for my beer tonight.
Pay for my beer, exactly. But and then you have people who are just quietly just being awesome and doing their thing. I remember one of my favorite stories that I tell that's embarrassing to me is that I've hung out at tables or walked by tables, looked through people's portfolios, and just not known who they were until it kind of hit me in the head that this is a person that I should know. And I'm trying to think. Matt Wagner, I think, was probably the big one, where I was flipping through just his portfolio. He was there all alone, really, till somebody kind of came over and started chatting with him as Yeah. Yeah, it was really embarrassing. I was like, wow, you sure do have a lot of Grendel in here. And it's like, oh, because it's Matt Wagner. But he was just quietly just doodling and, doing some commissions.
Just so people know, I have a huge crush on Matt Wagner. Huge.
Spirit.
I like to think that there's a parallel universe where things were different.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, it's just such a great place, and I've been going back pretty much almost every year since I've lived in North Carolina. So, it was not running for 2 years during the pandemic, as most cons were not. Yeah, 2020 and 2021, both times it was canceled.
2021 didn't happen. That's right. Yeah.
But it did come back in 2022, and that's the one I was super excited to go to. And then I got COVID for the first time, so I could not join.
No, it did play 2021 because that's when me, you, and John were together.
No, that was Baltimore.
That was Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, I think, Baltimore was the first con that I went to after the pandemic. But HeroesCon, that was the one that I was really waiting for.
Right, and that you got your vaccine shot.
Yeah, at Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore, because you didn't have it in the state yet.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. 2021 was kind of tough because, like, the cons mostly in the spring and summer, they were still canceled.
Yeah.
And, the
or
fall
if they
cons,
they were, like, retracted a bit.
Yeah.
Like, New York Comic Con, like, only sold, like, half of the ticket number, to comply with the city standards.
And I think even San Diego was just, like, online only or something. It was
definitely 2020.
Yeah, 2020, 2021, I can't remember. But
yeah, it's a little tough thinking about, like, because there was a very different, the summer and fall were very different vibes.
Very.
Yeah. So,
people having their second
like
shots, they were
like,
let's go. Man. But yeah, it isn't that long ago, but it might as well be. But I'm excited to be going tomorrow. And
I love being like right next to him doing this. Oh, let me tell you. Yeah.
I've got some gossip and I can tell you right here. But yeah, I mean, did you want to go through some of the panels, some of the guests?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go here.
So
now, can people see this?
No, but okay. I could actually bring this up if that works. Let me see.
Just so people can see what we're doing there.
There we go. Let us do. Haha. All right.
So they can see us.
Yeah.
And the...
Well, right now I think you can probably just see. Yes, you can see both of us. Awesome.
Yeah. So
yay, StreamYard! Thank you very much. All right. So it is a 3-day con. Starts on Friday the 19th or Friday the 20th, which is tomorrow, and goes through Sunday the 22nd. And like every con, they have a good mix of panels. A lot of local panels, different cosplay panels, but they also have professional panels. They've got retrospectives. They've got all sorts of tributes, all sorts of really cool things.
Now we're also talking about panels, and we know that there's a lot of people go to Comic-Cons that never touch panels.
Never touch them. Yeah,
and some of this is for health reasons because I have issues with my feet. Well, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. Getting old. Jesus. It's tough, man. There's bits of it are tough. So, given that situation, given that Steve's a good sport and genuinely enjoys the panels as well.
Oh, yeah.
We concentrate a little bit more on that than I think other shows like this. So.
Well, and it's the thing is that for years, when I would attend, I would just spend time on the floor. I would go around. I would visit the artists and writers and vendors and all sorts of stuff on the floor, but almost never ventured upstairs to the panels. But I started really going to the panels, I think, with you guys.
Yeah, and I think with me, my first con really I got funny stories, but my first real con was New York Comic Con, which is, has panels that are like, they're a pedigree above just because of where they located, the clientele's not the word, but the level of guests that they attract. So it's a little different when you get to something like that. And, the biggest example is Whole H in San Diego. But so we're just going through the panel schedule, and there's a couple that we're going to hit. Now, this isn't one I was thinking about hitting, but remembering Martin Nodell, the creator of Green Lantern, this was a gentleman who created the Alan Scott Green Lantern. And something that I think people have to know, which is lost, was that Martin Odell and his wife Carrie were fixtures through the entire history of cons. They were at the first Phil Suling in New York, and just they loved going to cons. And in the days when you got free sketches, Martin Odell was he'd like throw them. Hey, here you go. I'll just sketch for you.
What do you want?
So it's sad because I don't think we have anybody that's quite like that right now. Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be on Friday at 12:30. Yeah. They're having something like that. There is something I just want to mention it. The Appalachia Comics Project is something that they're going to be meeting about this and talking about the creators that they're working with in order to create sort of an anthology and support for the rebuilding of the Appalachian area, North Carolina, Tennessee, and up there that was severely affected by Hurricane Helene last year. So that's something really cool. They've got some good, some good partners for that. And then we've also got, Andrew Raiden, Jonathan Marks Barovecchia, and Chris Sparks, who are all kind of going to be on this panel to talk about that. So I thought that was kind of cool.
And we're not going to cover every one of
No. There's so much that's going on. One thing that I'm looking forward to actually going to for sure is Copra's final panel. So it's Copra's last round with Michel Fiffe. Basically, he's just finished his issue number 50, which I do have a copy of right here, as well as The Death of Copra that just concluded earlier this month. It's something he's been working on for over 10 years, and it's finally done. And so, that labor of love, he's going to be talking about that, which will be really exciting to see, because I know he does have this panel pretty regularly, at HeroesCon and other places, but this is his final, and this is like just after issue 50 came out, so that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So, and I know you were looking at. I know we do have the Pride. There's the Heroes Pride, also the LGBTQIA plus panel that we see every year. This one, it's got Kayla E. from Precious Rubbish, Sarah Meyer from Monstrous, as well as TMNT, Jarrett Melendez from Chef's Kiss, and friend of the podcast.
Yeah, and past guest Mayday Trip.
Yeah.
Best known for Something Terrible.
Absolutely.
Which was a wonderful encapsulation of his childhood.
Oh, yeah.
The importance of Batman and other characters.
And so, if you do go to a show like this, HeroesCon's been extremely supportive in the past and continue to be of diversity and diverse voices in comics. And the Pride panel or the LGBTQIA plus panels are always really interesting. Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're interesting for maybe the wrong reasons, but most of the time you have just some really great guests and some really great stories. Yes, I remember. We won't get into that one.
But it turned out to be someone, I defended somebody who was worth defending. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So, another thing that I thought was pretty interesting on Friday, there's the Indie Comics or the Indie Island 20th anniversary panel, just kind of looking at the history of this Indie Island concept at HeroesCon and how, it's done a lot to support those artists and writers and really, elevate them for a con attending group. People who don't normally go for those kinds of comics are introduced to them pretty easily and have a great outlet to talk with the creators right there, which is always neat. So I'm trying to think, what was the one that you were really looking forward to?
Let's see if we can go down. No, not that.
So now we're getting it. Yeah.
This is interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing this. What's going to happen to my cool stuff? Tips on preparing your comics, vinyl, and other collectibles for your beloved heirs. Yeah. And beloved heirs doesn't have to be a family member. I do stress that because I have people in my life, I would rather see them have the collection or elements of the collection than it go through the family route.
Yeah.
So, but that seems interesting, especially from like, again, with both 2/3 of this podcast being attorneys.
Yeah.
This is something I'm interested in.
It's
on a couple of different levels.
And some of those we've attended some of those legal panels in the past, and they're really fascinating a lot of times. So
shout out to our good friend Thomas Cromwell.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, Alex Toth, celebration. I'm not sure if we're going to get to this just by virtue of when this is, but just point of interest here. I found out after Alex Toth died that I am distantly related to him. And as somebody who basically is on this microphone with you because of Super Friends, I really wish I knew that. But so the story is, the lineage is, my father's sister, Shirley Zanowitz, married Jack Toth. Jack Toth was a cousin of Alex Toth.
There you go.
So like I said, distant relative, but certainly enough to get like an autograph, I think. I just wish I knew that growing up.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
fortunately, if you do like Alex Toth's, work, I mean, you can get it a lot of places now.
And I just love that they have these panels, like, whether they're talking about Martin O'Dell or Alex Toth, keeping these names that need to be kept alive.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of people understanding the history of this art form. So
yeah, and it is pretty cool to see. It looks like Mike Allred actually is going to be on the panel there with John Hitchcock.
Oh, cool.
So that's always neat. Also, going into Saturday, there's some pretty cool stuff. There's an Edgar Rice Burroughs panel for his 150th anniversary.
Yeah.
We've got Forgotten Heroes.
This looks really interesting.
Which look pretty interesting. It's the unsung story of the Japanese-American 442nd Regiment during World War II. So this is it's Tony Moy presenting something on, basically the making of his own comic about this historical group of Japanese-American soldiers during World War II. Which, knowing American history when it comes to World War II and Japanese Americans, it's not always a great history to read, and there's some really great work out there. George Takei's book, is excellent.
There's a few others.
Yeah,
they're not immediately coming to mind, but there's a few others.
But this is a different perspective. That
I think there's one alternative history book that might be Man in the High Castle territory, but from the Japanese perspective, I cannot think of the name of it.
It's too bad.
Oh man. It's driving me crazy. All right. And as soon as the show's over, I'll think of it.
Oh, of course. That's usually how it happens.
Yeah.
But that looks pretty good, and that's.
But it is an alternative history if the Japanese were successful in the Pacific War, at least in the Pacific Theater. The war. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
yep.
Hopefully you remember that at some point.
At some point, yeah.
There's a lot of Star Wars stuff that's pretty interesting. There's a panel,
but all seem to be related to Star Wars in comics.
Star Wars,
maybe just some cosplay stuff, but it does seem to have that alignment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's see what else we got.
We've got
Chris Claremont and Art Adams in conversation. It might be a weird conversation, but it probably will be worthwhile.
Always fun, and at the same time, you got Amy Chu and Joe Kelly.
You can enjoy that.
Talking about that. Oh, come on, it'll be fun.
I like Joe Kelly.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
so Amy. I like Amy Chu as well. But yeah, some pretty cool stuff.
What's that Palmiotti's name? This one.
Oh, which one there? Oh yeah, the Hero's Journey. Ooh, myths, motives, and modern twists.
I'm playing with the cat.
He's being attacked by a cat. So just kind of talking about the history and the way that one crafts stories, and it looks like we've got Pierre-Alexandre Comtois, Dave Chisholm, Jimmy Palmiotti, Justin Jordan, and Tommy Lee Edwards. It sounds like a pretty good panel.
And I keep forgetting that Tommy Lee Edwards has been one of the artists on the Gatchaman reboot. I keep forgetting that.
Which is definitely something you've been
I've
really
been getting every issue.
Yeah.
Spotlight on the Allreds.
Oh, that one. Yeah. So Mike and Laura Allred are also going to be attending HeroesCon, and there's Christopher Irving is having a panel with both of them to just sort of talk about their history in comics, and probably a lot of really cool stories about what happened over the past several years. I mean, from having I guess all of their work stolen from the computers. I think they had a bunch of computers stolen and all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stories that they'll have to tell, and working on all sorts of great properties. So that'll be cool to see. And we've got a little kitty co-host that's decided to join us.
You go ahead. Are you going to Steve, or are you just going to hang out with me?
I don't think she knows. There we go.
Okay.
Kayla E. There's a spotlight on Kayla E, which I'm pretty excited. Hopefully, I can attend.
We just mentioned her on the last show.
Absolutely, Precious Rubbish just was released. It's an excellent book, and I do want to listen to that again. She has talked about in the past, and it's wonderful to hear the stories about that. But there's there's
John
a jump.
Romita Jr. has a spotlight, and he's somebody along the lines of a Jimmy Palmiotti that you just at some point you just look at him and laugh because he's a charming guy.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And then we've also even got Daniel Warren Johnson and Nick Dragata in conversation, probably just talking about how big is too big when you're drawing a large hulking character. I don't think there's a limit. I think both of these guys have proven. So, there's a lot of really cool stuff. And then of course on Sunday, Jim Shooter, we have another Jim Shooter spotlight. Jim Shooter has been at the con a lot, over the years, and it's always fun hearing him on a panel and where he talks about really the history of comics and comics publishing. So he's seen it all, I think.
And the one I was excited about was the Marvel Editors Annual Roundup. And this is something they've done many, many times when they get Marvel editors from the past. Looks like we were getting mostly 80s and 90s editors here. Tom DeFalco, Danny Fingerrod, Terry Cavanaugh, Ralph Macchio, Al Milgram, Carl Potts. And the great thing about these panels is these guys have forgotten more than we ever remembered. And so they remember but they know a lot. Let's put it that way.
Lots of stories.
And there's a lot of war stories. And occasionally it's like, oh my God, that almost happened. So this from the historical standpoint, I love these kind of panels.
Oh yeah. There's also Jerry Conway Spotlight, which is always neat.
At the same time.
At the same time,
Frank Frazetta fans.
Yeah, I love Frank Frazetta's work. It's to me beautiful. And Sarah Frazetta is going to be there with Michael Finn, Mark Schultz, and Steve Conley to kind of talk about his history and how he became.
Sarah was actually the one that gave me the tour.
Oh, neat.
Rob and I did the tour when we went to the Frazetta Museum in the Poconos.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't even know there was a museum.
Sent pictures.
Well, I mean. And then, of course, HeroesCon staple Scotty Young. Spotty Young has a Scotlight.
A Scotlight.
The Scotlight.
They should call it the Scotlight.
Scotlight.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's super. I mean, he's been coming since I think he started getting big. So, he's definitely a staple, and it's always cool to hear him talk about stuff. So what he's got coming up, what he's been doing, all that stuff. And other than the usual cosplays, there's usually a lot of cosplay panels, a lot of art instruction panels and support panels. There's always a lot. There's a good mix for pretty much everybody. Yeah.
And if we can just go down a little bit more, given that we're coming into the summer of Superman, no matter how you look at it, there is a Superman retrospective, and that's late on Sunday, and it's probably a good way for us to end the call.
Oh, yeah. Just a nice relaxing and getting to hear all the cool things about the Man of Steel.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So that's our quick. Oh, what's the matter, baby? I'm not used to cats making noise.
Oh, they do all the time. That's why that's why I'm constantly on mute on my side, because the cats like to talk too.
So anyway, Steve picked me up from the airport this morning, and we spent the day together, and we have stuff to show.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff. Now, one thing is, this is something I feel bad, because this is the only thing I brought Steve, was this set of Love and Thunder for art postcards. So
which are cool. Thank you very much.
Yep. So
that's awesome.
But he also never sent me a Christmas gift last year, so I got them now.
It's not that I didn't get them; I just didn't send them.
You just didn't send them. I can't figure it out either.
I'm terrible going.
But it's like a grab bag of stuff. There's a really cool Star Wars Darth Vader car, Hot Wheels. So that's cool. And then this is something I love, and this is something local to you.
Yeah.
That one of the how do you put this? Associated with one of the local stores,
yes,
right?
An associate.
And they put out these unofficial collections of the Hostess snack ads. We've gone through the Marvel and the DC, and this is the Archie, and I think this is the last in the series.
I think so. Yeah.
So that's great. Something we might do a little fun is Steve did get me an Ollie's 5-pack. We'll be opening that as a sort of unboxing or
unwrapping
thing. This really nice McFarlane Max Mercury figure. If you know your Flash lore, he originally was Quicksilver and played a big part in especially Bart's story. And then we went to a couple of shops. We went to Sailfish, and we both got a couple of new books. So that's really important.
Trying to get them from, they've slid pretty far under the desk.
But we did make a trip to McKay's.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have McKay's by me up in suburban New Jersey.
So McKay's is similar to was it 40 and Charles or Second and Charles?
Yeah.
Second and Charles,
where it's a lot of resale.
Yeah,
mostly resale stuff. But there's thousands of pieces there. So I did get a couple of things. I got this Shaft figure of Rob Liefeld's Youngblood. Now, a very long story behind me getting a very large Rob Liefeld collection. I cannot remember if this was part of it. It's in the bunker somewhere. So if I don't have it, I now have it. If I do have it, I have 2 copies of this. But it was a very, I have to say there was this kind of boom in the late 90s and early 2000s of almost like vanity figures.
Yeah.
Like there were, figures of characters you never would anticipate. Hogan's Heroes had figures. And this was around that time. I think this was 97, around that time. So I got that. I'll have him hang out with Max Mercury. I got the final season of Lost. I had the first 5 seasons on home video. I did not have the 6th season. This is actually fairly hard to find at this point, but McKay's had like 7 copies.
They were just because all the copies that are unsold are there at McKay's. So
I got a DVD copy of Jaws 2.
Because why not?
Because why not? Underrated sequel, as far as I'm concerned. My favorite actor is Cary Grant, and I did get a hard copy of the book that his daughter Jennifer Grant wrote. Good stuff. Sorry about the light here, but and I think I have the audio version of this, but I didn't have this in print, so I'm happy about that. And a couple of single issues, some Bionicles and some Marvel fanfares. Got a nice little stack there, each for 35 cents a piece.
Yeah, I mean it's before the con, so you don't want to spend too much, go crazy.
But even all this came to like $30.
Yeah, I mean it's not a lot. That's the fun thing about going to McKay's. It's
you literally could spend $10 and walk out with a stack.
Oh yeah, you can find a lot of stuff. They have they've got everything. So
more fun. I just love going around to shops with you.
Oh yeah, it is fun. It's fun to go shop.
And it's really hard to show, but we both have new Skechers. So maybe we'll take a picture for the feeds of our new sneakers.
It'll special edition. Like join our Patreon so you can see pictures of our feet. Oh, wait, hold on.
Wait, yeah. I'm sure there's an OnlyFans that are like new sneakers.
Just new.
I wouldn't be surprised. There seems to be an OnlyFans for everything.
But yeah, no, it was pretty fun, and like usual, I think I didn't really buy too much because again, I usually hold off. It's local; I can go anytime.
I can.
Exactly. So, and then of course, starting tomorrow, I'm probably going to be spending way too much at HeroesCon because their vendors are pretty awesome. So you could find a lot that you're looking for. This year, I think, and I was telling Bill, this year I'm going to look for reasonably priced heavy metal or Metallurlant issues if I can find them. Metallurlant. If I can, because yeah, exactly. I mean, you can always find a ton of really cool stuff, but sometimes it's priced the way it should be. We've actually got some people, just before we go any further, who have joined us. We've got Görkem Yilmaz. Yay, what a galley.
Hey.
Thank you, Görkem. We've got Mr. Caleb Alexander McKenzie, who is missing tonight, always in our hearts.
Really? This is the first time you see me in a hat?
I don't know.
No.
We've got some pictures.
No.
And Caleb, of course, if someone's throwing out free sketches, I wear size Hulk.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. And I missed one episode and you start selling feet pics. I don't know if we're even selling them at this point, giving away for free, I guess maybe. It just has a, initial taste. Ew. Anyway. So Bill, you wanted to do an unwrapping.
Yeah. So this is a 5-pack from Ollie's. Is there an Ollie's around here?
There is.
Maybe we can go Monday.
Maybe, yeah.
There are 2 Ollie's by me, and their stock sucks. So I see pictures from around the country of what people get in their Ollie's, particularly in the graphic novels.
Mm-hmm. Ours are usually pretty
frustrating.
good.
It's very frustrating.
I remember one year when you came for HeroesCon in Charlotte, and we went to one, and there were tables stacked with graphic novels.
Showcase Presents. Oh my God, they were like in that beautiful Avengers versus X-Men.
Mm-hmm. Oh
yeah. Oh my God, it was amazing. The selection they had
for cheap, very very cheap.
Do you have a scissor or something?
No.
Tear like that. Okay.
Shred it.
So anyway, that's Baltimore. I was thinking, we got the
third
mystery thing. So anyway, in that spirit, this is the 5-pack Ollie's comic that Steve got me. So this has an issue of Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer,
which of course I have all of because Frank Frazetta.
It's issue number 5.
Yeah.
And this is Frank Frazetta's Dawn Attack.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's something called San Julian's Queens of the Lost World.
Ooh, it's like
which is on Opus, which is the Frank Frazetta label. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So there might be a Frazetta connection with that. And then it looks like we have 2 Marvel comics. Fallen Friend, The Death of Ms. Marvel. I'm going the wrong way here. Number 1. And looks like the Hellfire Gala variant cover of Captain America 750 with a very spiffy looking Sam Wilson.
That is neat.
That's very cool.
Definitely worth more than the $6 that you can get them at Ollie's for. So, and again, I
very cool.
Whenever I got comics, I always went for the grab bag. When after I was buying regularly and I had stopped for a long time, every once in a while I'd go to a convenience store and pick up a grab bag of 3 comics for like $2 or
and also there were a lot of chains and mom and pop dollar stores, particularly in the early 2000s, would have 3-packs of comics for $1, and that's how I got, I think, the entire run of Avengers West Coast, and I like a lot of value through that as well. And that was a period I went to law school from 2000 to 2004, I think. I'm trying to remember. And I didn't have a lot of money. I was putting myself through, and that was like I could justify, $1, $1 comic bag. So it just started piling up, and
it's an easy way to do
it. It was kind of one thing that contributed to me getting back into comics.
I mean, that'll do it for sure. Like you get interested in picking up some cheap comics, and then it's a story that you like, or maybe a series that you hadn't read, and you're like, I can read more of this. Caleb, again, is this the Death Dealer that Danzig was involved with? I am not 100% sure. I read all of them, except for the Death. I think it was Death Dealer 3000. Which I believe was just a one-shot. It was supposed to be a lot more, but I think it just didn't come out. And Opus, I think, kind of folded, or at least just went into hibernation. We haven't had anything since, which is too bad. But Caleb, I recommend them. It's just a great story. It's super metal. The art is a ton of fun. It's all inspired by, Frazetta work. And I just think the story is pretty cool.
This is interesting. So this is this Queens of the Lost World. It's co-written by Alan Moore's daughter with her husband John Reppian. Well, Take a look. This is very Frazetta-ish.
It's good. I did read that one too. But yeah, some good stuff. And I didn't pick anything up, anything really up at McKay's this time, but
because you can go there
because I can go there anytime. But I did get a couple things from the mail, the good old post, and one of them was Copra number 50. Copra number 50. You
could show without shoving it in front of me.
There we go.
Isn't that mean?
Yeah. Just in front of me. There we go.
Hope all your dreams come true.
But Copra 50, and you'll notice that this is not an Image trade dress. This is directly from Michel Fouquet himself. He was selling them off of Etsy, which is how you could pretty much get almost every issue of Copra for a long time. His own Etsy store. This is, I guess, number 123 out of 1200. But it's just it's a pretty bittersweet send off for the Copra series. This is the last one. They just finished the Death of Copra last month, and then of course here's Copra number 50. Now you can get this at your local comic shop, put out by Image, so you can get the Image trade dress if you need to. But I think
the easiest way
it's definitely the easiest way. He may still have some copies of this himself, and you can probably buy it directly from him at a con, like HeroesCon, because he'll be there tomorrow. And then I
might get that.
Yeah,
I might get that.
I mean, it's a cool send off. It kind of like summarizes things, and then I got I kickstarted a long time ago another anthology. It was actually issue number 4 of a Kickstarter anthology called Tales from the Cryptic Closet. And there are 4 issues, and the cool thing about it is that I got all 4 issues in a cereal box that is just pretty damn awesome. It's got a little maze on the back, it's got a word find, and it just looks pretty damn awesome. Unfortunately, it got a little smooshed by the mail. Actually, this one I think came through UPS. Not too bad though. I'm not pissed off. It's still really cool, and the comics were in perfect condition. They're just really awesome. Like the first issue, the second oversized issue, the third issue, which is all 3D, and the 4th issue, which is the most recent. They're just really cool. I love anthology horror comics. This is really great.
I'm just thinking about it. The only item I ever ordered from DCBS after 15, 16 years that came damaged was the Funko Flash cereal.
Interesting.
Why is it cereal boxes?
Because they're weak. Yeah. They are weak.
That is the only one that came damaged.
Yeah. But
in 15, 16 years of ordering.
And honestly, from Kickstarter too, because again, I've been supporting a lot of Kickstarters for years. That is the first one that's ever arrived damaged. And I'm not mad at all. I think, there's only so much you can do when UPS decides to drop kick something. So, and it may not have been their fault. Who knows? It may have just fallen off the conveyor and under somebody's boot. It fell multiple times from my hands.
It fell.
But it's pretty cool anyway. So those are my geekettes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, do we have any other recommendations?
I have to say, like, I've been so busy with real life that I haven't like sat down for comics or television really. Anything that I've watched wouldn't necessarily be a wolf of the week. So I'm sorry, folks. I really don't have anything. I'm just so happy to be right next to my pal here. He can drive me fucking crazy.
No. But yeah, I mean, same thing with me. Since this past week, I've just been trying to get everything done so we could get ready for Bill coming, and then of course get ready for HeroesCon, because the week before Heroes, I'm usually an absolute, scatterbrain mess.
He takes it very seriously. All I have to do is hop on a plane. He takes it very, very seriously.
Things I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't actually have a list of comics though that I can bring with me.
Okay. So Billy Z here, I would say, is famous in some circles for his list. This is 38 pages of comics, which I wouldn't necessarily classify as a want list, as more of a Bill doesn't have list. because I've made allowances for titles like Lobo. If I die without having every issue of the classic Lobo run, I'm okay. I still have lived a full life. But I had walking pneumonia. I want to say like 2006 or so, something like that, and had nothing to do, because I couldn't concentrate even watching TV.
Yeah.
And I just started making a list of the comics I don't have. It started as a wish list, and then I thought, well, you know what? If I'm representing this, I may as well represent. So it's very DC centric, but Marvel gets like 5 pages here. So I'm kind of known in certain circles for my ridiculous want list, and most of these I'll never will get, but I kind of know what I don't have because of this. Except for Marvel Fanfare for some reason. I never logged what issues of Marvel Fanfare. And I don't know why that was like left out.
I mean, that's why I have CLZ for everything, just to let me know what I have and what I don't have.
Sometimes analog is best. I gotta say, especially with certain apps that have just disappeared.
I did used to have, and I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a comic app that was supported for a long time and then just stopped.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was able to download my
I will say though, if Key Collector ever becomes a comprehensive, I'm there. A wonderful website app. Key Collector just has really interesting tidbits about why things are worth something. Yeah.
And not just because a whole bunch of people really want to buy it and spend a lot of money.
Yeah. But it follows trends. Like if there's a movie coming out, they'll have, for Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps, they have first appearances in a list format, why they are, why certain issues are important. It's a very good app. So maybe that's my wolf of the week. My wolf of the week, Key Collector, the app there.
Nice. My wolf of the week is, as usual, a TV show. And that is Revival, which is the latest comic adaptation. It's airing on Sci-Fi on Thursdays. The first episode was last week. You can watch the whole first episode free on YouTube. It is based on the Tim Seeley comic of the same name about a town in Wisconsin who that experiences a rash of the living dead. Although these people are more returned, they're revived. Some of them with no memory of how they died or what happened to them, and some with something extra that they've come back with, whether it's an extra ability or extra knowledge or something like that. So it's it's definitely a great series. It's a lot of fun. The first episode was really riveting. I think they did a great job. It's got a really good cast. And like I said, it's on terrestrial TV. You don't have to have a streaming service to watch it, but you can. Yeah, it's on Sci-Fi.
Oh, well, that's not true. I mean, that's
okay, not terrestrial. Cable. It's on cable. But that now is increasingly rare. Things are either connected to a streaming service or not at all.
Who I never thought I cut the cord. You cut the cord.
Yeah. So, but if you do want to watch it in a streaming service, it's on Peacock. Usually the day after it airs. So on Fridays you can watch it. But yeah, Revival. Just the latest in a long line of pretty cool comic adaptations. So, but yeah, that's it. So I was thinking we could probably do like a couple videos like we did last year. Yeah. Over this weekend, just to kind of, see what we're up to, what we get.
Yeah.
Cool
who we run into. Because there are, a lot of former guests of the show, like Steve Bryant, that we always make a point of saying hi to. Maybe they'll just be preserved on video, though.
Maybe. Yeah. Or maybe someone will steal my phone and toss it into a toilet somewhere. Angry cosplayers, maybe.
See, this is the problem. This is the problem Caleb and I have. Steve always makes it weird after a point. Why do you do that?
Yeah.
You can't help it, can you?
I can't help it.
You don't have to make it weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not weird. It's not weird.
Dude, it's fucking weird.
Never weird. Anyway.
I wish we had a chance to do this more often.
I know.
I really do, because I love to guess it. But it's all love. Punches.
Every time he hits me, it's like a kiss.
Don't go there.
It's from, what was that from? That was from Carnival? Carousel.
Yeah, and that also is something very Shangri-La's. You know, he hit me and it felt like a kiss. Yeah, it kissed me. I forgot.
Oh, remember when abuse was romantic? Man, those 50s and 60s.
Yeah. But here we are in the 2000s.
It's the 2020s.
It's the 2020. Yeah, I forget. Like, do you call the 2000s the aughts?
No,
I cannot do that.
No, I just don't do that.
It sounds like a toothache.
2000s, 2010s, 2020s.
Oh,
good gosh. Ugh.
All right. Well, again, we have the Comic Book Bear podcast. Singular. I said Comic Book Bear. Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on most of the social media sites as Comic Book Bears. However, if you're looking for us on Facebook, we are Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to write to us, you can send us an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us, you can catch us on many of the podcasting platforms like Spotify, like Apple Podcasts. We're on a bunch of them. If you want to view us, if you haven't been joining us during this live session through Facebook Live and the other systems, we do have a YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy what you've seen.
Yeah.
And until next time, I'm Billy Z.
And I'm Steve Morey.
If you're listening to the audio version, you're going to hear a wolf and an explosion. We'll actually be back next week. So this is just like a mini-sode. A mini-sode. A
mini-sode that's
a mini-sode.
50 minutes
this
long.
This is our first mini-sode.
It's just slightly less than an hour. It's a mini-sode.
So anyway, we'll be back. I believe Thursday we'll have Caleb with us, and we'll do a Heroes wrap-up and talk about some of the new books.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Afternoon, Governor.
Wolf.